Dramily.com, unlimited drama series.
The words came out of my mouth so easily, so naturally, that I didn't even think twice about them. Owen, just wait in the car, okay? Damien feels uncomfortable around you. My husband stood there in the parking lot outside our tech company's sleek downtown office, holding the bottle of champagne he'd brought to celebrate my promotion to senior sales manager. The evening sun caught the confusion in his brown eyes as he processed what I'd just said. I'm sorry, what? Owen's voice was quiet, controlled in that way. That meant he was trying very hard not to lose his temper. You want me to sit in the car like a child while you go to your own celebration party? I glanced back at the glass doors, where I could see Damien Rist talking animatedly with our coworkers. At 41, Damien was everything Owen wasn't: confident, successful, commanding. As the regional director, he'd been the one to recommend my promotion. The last thing I wanted was Owen's awkward small talk and nervous energy ruining the evening. It's not like that, I said, adjusting my black dress and checking my reflection in the car window. You know how you get at work events, you don't really fit in with this crowd, and tonight's important for me. Owen's face went very still. In our 8 years of marriage, I'd learned to recognize that expression. It meant he was hurt, but trying not to show it. Honestly, it irritated me. Why couldn't he just be supportive instead of making everything about his feelings? Lyrian, I took time off work to be here for you. I brought champagne. I wanted to celebrate your success. His voice cracked slightly on the last word. And you can celebrate with me at home later, I said, already walking toward the building. This is just business stuff anyway. You'd be bored. Behind me, I heard the car door slam harder than necessary. Through the glass lobby, I watched Owen sit behind the wheel, staring straight ahead. For a moment, I felt a tiny stab of guilt, but then Damien appeared at my shoulder, his cologne expensive and intoxicating. Everything all right? He asked, his hand briefly touching my lower back. Perfect, I said, pushing thoughts of Owen away. Let's go celebrate. The party was everything I'd hoped for. Damien introduced me to the regional VPs, praising my innovative sales strategies and natural leadership. I felt powerful, important, seen in a way I never felt at home with Owen and his endless grading papers and quiet teacher concerns. You're going to go far in this company, Damien murmured in my ear as we posed for photos near the champagne fountain. You have that killer instinct most people lack, I laughed, leaning into him slightly. Someone's phone flashed as they took our picture. I didn't care. This was my night. It wasn't until 2 hours later that I remembered Owen was still in the parking lot. By then, the champagne had made me giddy and careless. I stumbled outside in my heels, expecting to find him sulking in the passenger seat. The parking spot was empty. I pulled out my phone and called him. It went straight to voicemail. Owen, very funny, I said after the beep. Come pick me up. The party's winding down. I waited 20 minutes before calling Marina, my closest friend and fellow sales associate. She'd left the party early but agreed to come get me. I can't believe he just left you there, Marina said as I climbed into her silver Honda. What kind of husband is that? Right, I said, grateful for her support. I mean, I asked him to wait in the car for like 2 hours. It's not that big a deal. Honestly, Lyrian, you're too good for him. Owen's always been threatened by your success. Remember when you got that big client last year and he barely congratulated you? I nodded, though I couldn't actually remember that. Marina had a way of reminding me of things that made Owen look bad. It was helpful, actually. Sometimes I felt guilty about how I treated him, but Marina always put things in perspective. When I got home to our small apartment, Owen was already in bed, facing away from me. I could tell from his breathing that he wasn't asleep. Really mature, leaving me stranded, I whispered harshly. He didn't respond. I changed into my pajamas, posting the photo of Damien and me on Instagram with the caption, celebrating with the best boss ever. Hashtag blessed, hashtag career goals, hashtag power team. Within minutes, likes and comments started pouring in. My coworkers, college friends, even my mother hearted it. The validation felt incredible. Owen still didn't move. I woke up to 17 notifications on my phone. The photo with Damien had gotten more engagement than anything I'd ever posted. Comments ranged from power couple vibes to get it girl to your boss is hot. Owen's side of the bed was already empty. I could hear him in the kitchen making coffee, the same routine he'd had for years. Everything about Owen was routine: his morning jog, his careful lesson planning, his predictable responses to everything. Morning, I said brightly, showing him my phone screen. Look how well my post is doing. 53 likes already. Owen glanced at the photo of Damien's arm around my waist, both of us beaming at the camera. His expression was unreadable. Congratulations, he said flatly, pouring coffee into his travel mug. Don't be like that. You're not seriously mad about last night, are you? Mad? Owen set down the coffee pot carefully. No, Lyrian, I'm not mad. Something in his tone made me look up from my phone. There was a calmness to him that I hadn't seen before. Usually after we fought, Owen would be eager to talk it out, to apologize even when I was clearly in the wrong. This felt different. Good, because Marina thinks you're being ridiculous anyway. She said most husbands would be proud to have a successful wife instead of pouting about. I need to go, Owen interrupted, grabbing his messenger bag and car keys. I have an early meeting. What meeting? It's Saturday. Work stuff. He paused at the door. I'll pick up Eva at 3 for her soccer game. Our 7-year-old daughter was spending the weekend at my mother's house. Owen never missed her games, even though I usually found excuses not to go. Sitting in those uncomfortable bleachers with the other parents, pretending to care about which team kicked a ball into a net, felt like a waste of time. After Owen left, I spent the morning basking in social media attention. Marina came over with coffee and pastries, and we analyzed every comment and like. Look at this one, Marina said, pointing to a comment from Nate, another coworker. Damien's a lucky guy to work with someone so talented and beautiful. He's totally flirting. We're just colleagues, I said, but I felt a thrill at the implication. Please, did you see how he was looking at you last night? And the way he kept touching your back? I had noticed. Damien's attention felt like sunlight after years of Owen's dim, steady presence. With Damien, I felt electric, important, alive. Owen doesn't appreciate you, Marina continued. He never has. Remember your college graduation? He was more interested in talking to your dad about baseball than celebrating your achievements. Again, I couldn't quite remember it that way, but Marina had been there. She was probably right. When Owen came home that evening, he was carrying a stack of manila folders and a new planner. I watched him arrange everything meticulously on the kitchen table, writing dates and appointments in his careful handwriting. What's all that? I asked. Just organizing some things. He labeled one folder, household, and another, utilities. Everything was dated and color-coded. You're so obsessive, I laughed. It's paperwork, not rocket science. Owen didn't smile. He just continued writing, occasionally checking his phone and making notes. That night, as I scrolled through more comments on my photo, I noticed Owen sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open. The screen was angled away from me, but I could see he was typing something lengthy. What are you working on? Lesson plans? Something like that. His evasiveness annoyed me, but I was too distracted by a new message from Damien to pursue it. Great photo from last night, Damien had written. You looked stunning. Looking forward to working more closely with you in your new role. I screenshot the message to send to Marina. She'd love this. The following Friday, our company hosted a rooftop party to celebrate the quarterly numbers. I'd spent an hour getting ready, choosing a red dress that Damien had complimented before. Owen was grading papers at the kitchen table when I emerged from the bedroom. How do I look? I asked, spinning slightly. He glanced up briefly. Fine. Just fine. You look beautiful, Lyrian. You always do. But he said it automatically without really looking. Damien, on the other hand, would notice every detail. I probably won't be home until late, I said. It's a networking thing. Owen nodded, returning to his papers. I noticed he'd added more folders to his organizational system. Everything was labeled with dates and categories I couldn't quite read from across the room. The rooftop party was magical. Downtown stretched out below us, city lights twinkling as the sun set. Damien found me immediately, bringing me a glass of wine and introducing me to clients I'd only heard about in meetings. Lyrian's our rising star, he told a group of executives. She's got that rare combination of intelligence and instinct that can't be taught. I glowed under his praise. Around us, coworkers laughed and mingled. Nate was live streaming parts of the party on Instagram, capturing the glamorous atmosphere. As the evening progressed, Damien and I found ourselves alone on a quieter section of the rooftop. The wine had made me bold, confident. I never properly thanked you for the promotion, I said, stepping closer to him. Your work speaks for itself. His eyes traveled down my dress appreciatively. Though I have to admit, having someone so beautiful on my team is a nice bonus. I laughed, feeling powerful and desired. Behind us, I could hear Nate's voice as he filmed another Instagram story. You know what would be funny? Damien said, glancing toward Nate's phone. Give them something to really talk about. Before I could ask what he meant, Damien leaned in and kissed me. It was soft, brief, but unmistakably romantic. Around us, our coworkers whooped and cheered. Oh my God, you guys, Nate squealed, still filming. This is so cute. The boss and his star employee. I should have pulled away. Should have thought about Owen, about Ava, about the consequences. Instead, I kissed Damien back, longer this time, while our colleagues applauded. It felt like the most natural thing in the world. I was still glowing from the attention when I noticed a familiar figure by the rooftop entrance. Owen stood there in his khakis and button-down shirt, looking completely out of place among the cocktail dresses and expensive suits. Our eyes met across the crowd. His face was pale, but not shocked. If anything, he looked resigned, like he'd been expecting this. Owen, I called out, my voice artificially bright. What are you doing here? He walked over slowly, nodding politely to my coworkers. Damien had stepped back, but not far enough to hide what had just happened. You left your work ID at home, Owen said quietly, holding out my security badge. I thought you might need it. It was a lie. I had my ID in my purse. But Owen had never been a good liar, and everyone could see through it. That's so sweet, said Jessica from accounting, but her voice carried a note of pity that made my cheeks burn. Thanks, I said, taking the ID. You didn't have to come all the way down here. Apparently I did. The words were soft, but they cut through the rooftop chatter. Several people had stopped talking to watch us. Nate was still holding his phone up, though he'd stopped filming. Well, I should get back to the party, I said. This is important for my career. Owen nodded once. I know it is. He turned and walked away without saying goodbye to anyone. I watched him disappear through the rooftop door, feeling a strange mix of guilt and irritation. Why did he have to make everything so dramatic? Everything okay? Damien asked, moving back to my side. Perfect, I said, forcing a smile. Where were we? But the moment felt different now. The magic had dimmed slightly, though I couldn't quite put my finger on why. Later that night, I came home to find Owen organizing more papers. He'd created what looked like a filing system with everything labeled and categorized. You're up late, I said, and couldn't sleep. I sat on the couch, still wearing my party dress. About tonight, what you saw, it wasn't what it looked like. Owen didn't look up from his papers. What did it look like? You know what I mean. Damien and I were it was just a silly work thing. Everyone was laughing and having fun. I see. His calm acceptance frustrated me more than anger would have. You're not going to say anything? Not going to accuse me or get jealous? Would you like me to? I'd like you to care. Owen finally looked at me then. I do care, Lyrian. More than you know. Something in his voice made me uncomfortable. There was a finality to it that I didn't understand. It meant nothing, I said. We were just being silly. I know. But the way he said it made me feel like he knew much more than I'd told him. By Monday morning, Nate's Instagram story had been shared across multiple platforms. The video of Damien and me kissing had gone viral within our company's social circle, generating dozens of comments and reactions. Most were supportive. You guys are so cute together. and power couple alert. But a few made me uncomfortable. What about her husband? Someone had written. Doesn't she have a kid? I deleted those comments and blocked the users. People were so judgmental about things they didn't understand. Owen had left for work early again before I woke up. His organizational project had expanded to cover most of the kitchen table. I saw folders labeled Archive A and Archive B, both secured with rubber bands. His planner was open to a page filled with appointments I couldn't read from where I stood. That afternoon, my mother called. Honey, I saw the video from your work party, Helen said carefully. The one with your boss. It's just work stuff, Mom. People are making a big deal out of nothing. I'm sure it is, but, well, people talk. And Eva's been asking me some questions about why Daddy seems sad lately. Guilt twisted in my stomach. Owen's not sad. He's going through a phase. Maybe you should talk to him. Really talk. Marriage takes work.
90 days of calls to the same number. You bought a burner for her.
Give it to me.
One reason not to drop it.
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Work, sweetheart. After we hung up, I tried calling Owen. It went to voicemail. I tried again an hour later. Same thing. When he finally came home that evening, he was carrying a manila envelope and had a strange expression on his face. We need to talk, I said. Do we? Yes, about the party, about us, about whatever's been going on with you lately. Owen set the envelope on the kitchen table next to his growing collection of organized papers. What would you like to talk about? You've been acting weird for weeks. All this organizing, the appointments you won't tell me about, the way you've been avoiding me. I haven't been avoiding you. Then what's in all these folders? What are all these meetings you keep going to? Owen looked at me for a long moment. Just getting my affairs in order. The phrase sent a chill through me. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm taking care of business. That weekend, we were supposed to attend Eva's birthday party at my mother's house. The whole family would be there. My mother, Owen's mother, Yolena, various aunts and uncles. I'd been dreading it since the video went viral. As expected, the party was awkward. Ava was thrilled to see both her parents together, but the adults kept giving us strange looks. I could tell they'd all seen the video. So, Lyrian, said my Aunt Carol over cake, how's work going? I saw some interesting photos online. Work's great, I said firmly. I got a big promotion. That's wonderful, dear. And how do you feel about it, Owen? Owen was helping Eva open presents, but he looked up at the question. I'm proud of Lyrian's success. I always have been. Even with all the extra responsibilities? Carol's tone was loaded with meaning, especially then. I wanted to kick him under the table. His calm responses were making me look worse somehow. Later, as Eva played with her new toys, I overheard Yolena talking quietly to my mother in the kitchen. That boy's been through enough, Yolena was saying. I raised him to be respectful, to honor his commitments. But everyone has a breaking point. I'm sure they'll work it out, my mother replied, but she sounded uncertain. Some things can't be worked out, Helen. Some things change everything. I pretended not to hear, but their words stuck with me. On the drive home, Ava chattered about her presence from the back seat while Owen drove in silence. I kept glancing at his profile, trying to read his expression. Your mother doesn't like me, I said finally. She likes you fine. She thinks I'm a bad wife. Owen didn't respond to that. I am a good wife, I continued. I work hard. I contribute to this family. I'm successful. Some wives just sit at home all day. You're right. His agreement felt hollow, like he was humoring me. That night, after Eva was asleep, I found Owen at the kitchen table again. His laptop was open, and I could see he was typing an email. The screen showed what looked like an official letterhead. Who are you emailing so late? I asked. Owen closed the laptop. Just work stuff. On a Sunday night? Teachers work weekends too. But something felt wrong. Owen was many things. Predictable, quiet, sometimes boring. But he'd never been secretive. This new version of him, calm and organized and mysteriously busy, unsettled me more than anger would have. Owen, are you having an affair? The question surprised even me, but it would explain the secrecy, the emotional distance, the careful organization of his time. Owen looked at me with something that might have been amusement. No, Lyrian, I'm not having an affair. Then what's going on with you? I'm just preparing for some changes. What kind of changes? But Owen had already turned back to his papers, effectively ending the conversation. The next 2 weeks passed in strange, suspended tension. Owen continued his mysterious organizing project, now expanded to include what looked like financial documents and legal papers. He'd converted our spare bedroom into a makeshift office, complete with a filing cabinet he'd bought without telling me. Meanwhile, my relationship with Damien was heating up. We'd started having lunch together almost daily, and he'd begun asking my opinion on major decisions. The attention was intoxicating. "You have incredible instincts," he told me over sushi one afternoon. "I've never worked with someone who understands the business side like you do." "I've always been good at reading people," I said, leaning closer across the small table. "It shows. You know exactly what clients want to hear, exactly how to close a deal." His hand covered mine on the table. I didn't pull away. That evening, I came home energized and happy, ready to share my good news with Owen. I'd landed another major client, and Damien had hinted at another promotion. But Owen wasn't in his usual spot at the kitchen table. Instead, I found him in the spare bedroom, surrounded by boxes and files. "What's all this?" I asked. "Just organizing some old paperwork." Owen didn't look up from the document he was reading. I noticed several boxes labeled with dates going back years. Bank statements, tax returns, insurance papers. Everything was categorized and filed with obsessive precision. "This is excessive, even for you," I said. "What's the point of keeping all this old stuff? You never know when you might need documentation." "Documentation for what?" Owen finally looked at me. "For whatever comes next." His cryptic answers were starting to irritate me. "Can you just speak normally? All this mysterious organizing and vague comments. It's getting old." "I'm sorry you feel that way." Even his apologies felt different now. Less desperate to please, more final. That weekend, Marina came over to help me pick out an outfit for the company's investor dinner the following Friday. It was a huge event. Potential clients, board members, regional directors from across the country. Damien had specifically requested that I attend as his plus one. "This is it," Marina said, holding up a navy blue dress. "This screams future executive." "Owen thinks I'm getting too involved with work," I said, trying on the dress. "Owen thinks you should stay small and manageable. He's threatened by your success?" Maybe. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure that was true anymore. The old Owen might have been threatened. This new version seemed almost relieved. "You know what your problem is?" Marina continued. "You're too loyal. You've been with Owen since college. You've never explored your options. We have Eva to think about." Eva would be fine. Kids are resilient. And honestly, she'd probably benefit from seeing her mom with someone who actually appreciates her. I thought about Damien's appreciative glances, his praise for my work, the way he made me feel important and valued. "Just think about it," Marina said. "You're 32. You're successful, beautiful, smart. You could have anyone." That night, I lay in bed thinking about Marina's words, while Owen worked late in his makeshift office. Through the thin walls, I could hear him on the phone, speaking in low tones I couldn't quite make out. On Thursday evening, the night before the investor dinner, I found Owen packing a small suitcase. "Going somewhere?" I asked. "Just organizing some clothes I don't wear anymore." But the suitcase contained his best clothes, his good suit, dress shirts, ties I'd given him for Christmas. "Those aren't clothes you don't wear. That's your best stuff." Owen folded a shirt carefully. "I might need them soon." "For what?" "For whatever comes next." There was that phrase again. I wanted to demand a real answer, but something in Owen's demeanor warned me off. He seemed too calm, too prepared, too sure of himself. Friday morning, Owen left early again, but this time, he kissed Eva goodbye with extra tenderness, holding her a little longer than usual. "Daddy, are you sad?" Eva asked. "No, sweetheart. Daddy's just getting ready for some changes." "What kind of changes?" "Good changes. Changes that will help everyone be happier." I watched this exchange with growing unease. Owen's behavior was becoming more unsettling by the day. That evening, as I got ready for the investor dinner, I felt a strange mix of excitement and dread. This was my night to shine, to show everyone what I was capable of. But Owen's mysterious preparations cast a shadow over everything. "You look beautiful," Owen said as I emerged from the bedroom in my navy dress. "Thank you." We stood there for a moment, looking at each other. I had the strangest feeling that he was memorizing my face. Lyrian, he said quietly, I want you to know that I've always loved you. Whatever happens, I've always loved you. What's going to happen? But Owen just smiled sadly and didn't answer. The investor dinner was held at the downtown Marriott's Grand Ballroom. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables of executives, potential clients, and company leadership. I felt like I belonged among these successful, powerful people. Damien looked incredible in his black tuxedo, and he introduced me to everyone as his invaluable right hand. Board members complimented my insights. Regional directors asked for my business card. I was flying high on professional validation. Ladies and gentlemen, the company president announced during dinner, I'd like to recognize some of our outstanding performers this quarter. My name was called third. As I stood to acknowledge the applause, I felt like I was finally becoming the person I was meant to be. Damien's hand found mine under the table. You deserve all of this, he whispered. After dinner, we moved to the hotel bar for cocktails and networking. I was deep in conversation with a potential client when the hotel concierge approached our table. Excuse me, Ms. Moreland. I have an envelope for you. The envelope was thick, official-looking, with my name typed on expensive letterhead. Inside were legal documents, pages and pages of them with official seals and signatures. Petition for dissolution of marriage, I read aloud, my voice barely a whisper. The conversations around me seemed to fade as I flipped through the papers. Irreconcilable differences. Equitable distribution of assets. Parenting plan and custody schedule. Everything was meticulously documented. Financial records going back years, screenshots of social media posts, including the video of Damien and me kissing, witness statements from coworkers who'd observed our inappropriate workplace relationship, even timestamps showing when Owen had left me in the parking lot that first night. What is that? Damien asked, leaning over to look. Divorce papers. My hands were shaking. Owen's divorcing me. Around our table, conversations had stopped. People were staring, trying to process what was happening. I kept reading, my horror growing with each page. Owen hadn't just filed for divorce. He'd built an airtight case. Bank records showing joint assets, documentation of my income and career advancement, a proposed custody schedule that gave him primary custody of Eva, with me getting alternating weekends. He can't do this, I said. But even as I spoke, I knew he could. Owen had always been methodical, careful, thorough. While I'd been basking in social media attention and workplace romance, he'd been quietly, systematically preparing for this moment. The final page was a letter in Owen's careful handwriting. Lyrian, by the time you read this, the papers will be filed with the court. I've tried to be fair in all arrangements. Ava will stay in the family home with me to maintain stability, but you'll have generous visitation. I've documented everything necessary to ensure a smooth process. I hope you find the happiness you've been looking for. Owen. This is insane, Damien said, but his voice sounded distant. He can't just ambush you like this. I looked around the ballroom, suddenly seeing the situation through everyone else's eyes. The successful businesswoman being served divorce papers at a company event. The woman who'd been publicly kissing her boss while her husband waited in the parking lot. I need to call him, I said, fumbling for my phone. Owen answered on the first ring. Did you get the papers? He asked calmly. Owen, what are you doing? We can talk about this. We can work it out. There's nothing to work out, Lyrian. You've made your choice. I'm just making mine. You can't take Eva from me. I'm not taking her from you. I'm providing her with a stable home while you figure out what you want. Around me, the investor dinner continued, but I felt like I was in a bubble of humiliation and panic. This is crazy. You're being vindictive and petty. No, Owen said quietly. I'm being practical. You told me to sit in the car because I didn't fit into your new life. So I'm removing myself from it permanently. Owen, please. The papers explain everything. My lawyer will be in touch about the details. Your lawyer? When did you get a lawyer? 3 weeks ago, right after the rooftop party. The line went dead. I sat there holding my phone, surrounded by the wreckage of what was supposed to be my triumphant evening. Damien was reading through the divorce papers, his expression growing more uncomfortable by the minute. This is comprehensive, he said finally. He's been planning this for weeks, I realized. All that organizing, all those appointments. He was building a case against me. Look, Lyrian, maybe I should go. I stared at Damien. What? This is getting complicated. The company has policies about workplace relationships, especially when one person is married. If this becomes public, it is public. You kissed me in front of everyone. That was just fun. I didn't think, but I could see in his eyes that he had thought. He'd known exactly what he was doing, and now that there were consequences, he was backing away. You're leaving me too. I'm not leaving you, we need to be smart about this. Damien stood up, straightening his tuxedo. I'll call you next week. Once things settle down. I watched him walk away, stopping to shake hands and smile with other executives as if nothing had happened. Within minutes, he was laughing with the company president, completely removed from my crisis. I gathered the divorce papers in my purse, acutely aware that people were watching me. The successful businesswoman had become the cautionary tale. The woman who'd destroyed her marriage for a man who disappeared at the first sign of trouble. Outside the hotel, I called Marina. He did what? She shrieked when I explained. Filed for divorce tonight at the investor dinner. That's so manipulative. He planned this to humiliate you publicly. But as I stood on the sidewalk in my expensive dress, holding legal papers that represented